Welcome back to the Taylor Swift Tech Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you were as scared as I was during the last presentation because
it's like
lightning's
taking
still
candy
around,
from an
but
infant baby yesterday for Halloween. It's a Whopper. It's like taking candy from your son. It's okay, he won't remember.
You're just giving me so many Tim Cook ideas now. That would have been such a better event intro.
Just him taking candy from kids?
And
Wow!
Tim Cook's just, wow. We zoom in on Tim and he's just sitting at his desk trying to open the Whopper candy. And he's like, he looks up.
Oh, are we doing this? Good morning. Good evening. Hello, Cupertino.
Good evening.
Oh, we're
good
doing
evening.
this.
At least you did that.
I would ask if you guys caught the event, but it was so quick. I wouldn't blame you if you blink and you missed it. It was
scary
over
fast
like that.
Oh,
It was a scary fast event.
I never understood why it's so milk it in. I caught it.
Randy
Can you
reviews
imagine
the
they
Whopper.
play the event at they play the event at 10x speed, and then they get
Was
to
it
say,
10x
well,
speed?
It
It felt a little slow at
was
times.
scary fast.
I could tell you this not as an accent thing, and people thought I was making fun of Johnny's accent, but I'm from Latin descent too, so I can make these jokes. But no, it's not his accent. I literally have no idea what he's talking about when he's talking about the computing processing of the power. Like, he just goes so nerdy about it.
I love Johnny S.
Sruji?
Yeah. Johnny S
Oh,
is
yeah.
great. I love
Johnny-
when he
There's
presents whatever.
Johnny
Mike.
Ive, Johnny
No.
Sruji, and John Turnus.
No. I'm talking about the guy who's locked in the basement, always playing with his Macs.
Yeah.
So Johnny
Yeah.
Ive. Johnny Ive.
Has that guy ever seen daylight? We should check on him.
I don't know. But Mike looks like the type. He's like, I always enjoy him. Mike, I am not surprised. The engineer of the panel is the one who's excited to hear all this nerdy, not stupid, but just nerdy. Like, I'm over here like, sell me the new color. And then you got Mike over here. He's just
I love the passion that he
you know.
has. All the passion that he has to convey this information about what's new with Macs is just infectious. I think it's
with his so scientific. Here's our chart. Woo.
Performance units.
Yeah.
They did put numbers
okay.
on the vertical, so you can compare that to previous charts that have numbers on the
Unlike-
vertical.
Unlike the exactly 30-minute keynote, I don't want to bury the lead here and say that the most amazing part of it all, shot on
Was
iPhone,
the iMac.
Boop.
Oh.
Yeah.
You didn't-
Seriously.
you
Do
didn't
you
the
think
iMac
that
was
was the
most
sole reason? You think the sole reason they had this event was so that they could brag about shooting an event with an
I'm going
iPhone?
to use my 1-a-year pass for cursing. Yeah. Absolutely.
Use that more than
The
once.
Mac event was an iPhone ad. It was a 30-minute iPhone ad. Oh, it was
That
so
makes
cool.
sense.
It was so cool. I was so jazzed about it.
Did you have any inkling at all? Did you notice at all until the
I'm
end?
going to use my set. Hell no.
He's gonna keep using.
If you're just going to timestamp my cursing, well, hell.
So you're saying if they didn't feel like filming an event on the iPhone, this would have been a site refresh. Is that your point?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, this was an iPhone ad. This was a free iPhone ad.
If there was an event to shoot it
know
with
if it
an
was free.
iPhone, it was this one. It makes total sense that they would do it with this one because they don't have to do anything too complex. It's a lot of still frames that they're doing where they're kind of just staying on someone and then they cut to an animation and all that. And there's not too many products that they're dealing with in this event as well. So they're not having to hop around with a whole bunch of different things, whether it's the drone shots that they're doing or the interesting close-ups that they're doing with the big boom arm and all that.
Here's the thing, though. I have two thoughts simultaneously that might even conflict with one another, but it was running in my head the whole time. The first one, they should have filmed the iPhone event in iPhone, and at the very end, by the way, this keynote was filmed on the iPhone 15 Pro Max.
I agree. I totally agree. Why didn't they do it before?
Because conflicting thought. They filmed at night, which means they had complete, utter manual control of the lighting, which they showed all the sets and all the things. Which, by the way, first of all, okay, pioneer here. I've been filming on the iPhone since Ventura Beta 2021. I have been a diehard. I shot on iPhone. I've been shot on iPhone for the... I'm exclusive, baby. But, okay, anyway. They have controlled lighting, and the event was filmed at night, so they can have more control. So then it tells me, like, would we have noticed this if it was shot during the day? But then no. The conflicting thought, no, because Apple ProRes, the log format, log strips all artificial sharpening, and it has every... I don't have the Pro in hand yet, so spoiler, I don't have one yet, but...
We're waiting on the return window.
Yeah, I am waiting on. Yeah,
you poor souls.
Right. But every review, and I think I've watched every. First of all, shout out to the YouTube community with all these guys doing their iPhone 15 Pro camera. Like I've been exposed to so many new YouTubers, tech tubers I've never heard of, and their content is sexy. I am loving how creative this new generation of tech tubers are taking advantage of it. I'm so. A little bit of, I have a little bit of faith in the tech community again, just looking at the new wave coming through, because I have watched so many iPhone reviews now, specifically with the Pro camera, and watching log and understanding what they're doing. And everyone says that it strips all that artificial sharpening that Apple does with the processing, and it's the most flat, like you can genuinely not tell the difference. And the best that iPhone has ever done, just historically, the best they've ever done is when you have a lot of light for it to take in that you can then control on the back end. When it's dark, it's grainy, it's fuzzy, it's noisy. It's like, oh, that's definitely an iPhone. Right now, this being filmed, this is an iPhone because I'm in a darker room. But, I mean, this is a podcast, so it's fine. But when you have complete control of the lighting situation with natural lighting, Drew doing his side-by-side with the 11 and using the 15, and people favoring the 11 sometimes, is not just the result of the iPhone 11, but it's a result of Apple showcasing how great these cameras have been with natural light, as much light information it can take in. iPhone 11, mind you, really quickly, was the one that first started showing, like, filming on a set with the 11 Pro, and that, black and white, like, oh, guys walking the street, and you see the 11 Pro kind of panning down. And it was more gimmicky, as most things are, but it was like, oh, okay, that one is in a controlled lighting, but it's also, you could tell it's shot on iPhone. Same thing with cinematic mode on the 13. You could just tell it has a look. But what every photo and video has done well with is taking in the light information. So the fact that Apple filmed this event at nighttime and still pulling the wool over our eyes, just all but, like, I'm a full believer in everything. Like, okay, fine. Sure, Apple, 7 lenses. I guarantee you probably just used the main sensor anyway, but still, 7 lenses.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think any of the shots were used any other camera other than the main.
No, but I'm drinking the Kool-Aid now. This is the coolest thing I've ever saw. We knew this day was coming. We always talk about it. Drew, me, Mike in recent years, Nick in older years, we have all said, I will believe you, Apple, when you film your events on your iPhone. Well, that day has come, and now it is the standard.
You're right.
It is the expectation, it's the standard, and now no excuse. Everybody should be filming with their iPhones. That's the message Apple is pushing out there, and I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. The coolest part about it was not that there's a space black, though. That is pretty cool. It's shot on iPhone, absolutely.
I don't ever remember saying that Apple should just use their phone. It would be nice if they did. in which they did, which is nice. But I don't remember being so passionate like you guys were. But it is
all I remember saying was, as long as they use another kind of camera to film their events, I'm going to keep saying Apple should make a dedicated camera. That was me advocating against the whole Apple won't make a dedicated camera because they just want you to use your iPhone. Now, because I was totally fooled and I had no suspicions while watching this whole presentation that it was shot on iPhone, I'll have to admit they've proved their point. So I feel like my request for a dedicated camera has now been substantially weakened, because basically they're showcasing now how at the end of the day it's not about the camera, it's more about the lighting and the angles and everything else. That, of course, they had a very high budget. Yeah, it always has been, but this kind of proves the point further that Apple's actually putting their money where their mouth is and saying, okay, let's actually use it in our marketing material now. But I will attach the caveat on, does this mean all Apple events moving forward will be shot on iPhone?
I don't think so. No.
Absolutely.
No.
Interesting.
Not at all.
There has suddenly been a lot more pressure now on the Vision Pro presentation next year. We're going to see. Because you know what I noticed after watching the event again is they didn't do a lot of close-ups. They did a lot of wide shots, like full body walking around. And in previous events like the Vision Pro unveiling and stuff, they did a lot more telephoto zoomed in shots of people with the headset on and stuff. And they weren't messing around with that. Kind of like for what you said, there was not much to unveil. There wasn't really that much to talk about. It was the exact same designs as before, just with new chips. So this was kind of a safe event to do it on. But I wonder if this kind of ups the ante now for the next presentation. Is everyone going to be expecting shot on iPhone? What if it isn't? What does that mean?
Moment, the one that has they have accessories for the camera, for the smartphone camera. I think it's Moment or Movement. It's one of them. They make lens, the swappable lens. Once you put the fixture onto the camera system, that you can swap out, and it says, it goes with the caveat that, like, you're going to use the main sensor, you're going to use the main camera, the wide, not ultra wide, not telephoto, just regular wide, and we will provide you with the telephoto or the whatever. And that company's been around since, I think, iPhone 6, I believe, maybe even iPhone 5. It's been around for a hot minute, at least a decade. So in the senses where there's going to be close-ups and stuff like that, this just makes the accessories community for iPhone that much more vibrant. That, like, hey, now we got all this other new stuff. We got gimbals and steady cams and this, that, and we got fixtures, and they're going to have all that sorted out, because at the end of the day, the camera part that's not the hardest part. You could buy a $15,000 grand piano and still suck as a musician and not be able to play a good piano note. It might sound good-ish, but if you can't write music, or at least read music and conduct yourself and play the piano, you're not, that doesn't help you. Likewise, you can have the most athletic shoe, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't make you a better runner. I'm not going to be running a 18-minute 3-mile anytime soon. But what it removes with the brain, we talk about the brain for like the Red camera, right? And we want the just like the core of it be doing its thing. Apple just has a flatter, more portable version of that happens to also make phone calls, text messages, and social media and all
Manage
that.
Bank account.
But everything else
has a fart button.
That doesn't nothing else changes. You still got the lighting, you still got the mic, you still got the composition, you still, like, it's only going to be as good as you are as a filmmaker in your team, your production team. There's no way in heck. Okay, I ran out. I can't use any more curse words. That they're not going to be using the iPhone going forward. That's the standard that they set.
Okay.
They have to. That's Steve Jobs sent an email just to say, by the way, this was done on the airport, blah, 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 at the end of it when he was in the hospital telling people that, hey, I'm good. And he still used that opportunity to promote that he had the Apple Airport and he sent it on his iPad. And
Still plugging.
He was still plugging. The Apple will never not plug because it's their ecosystem. And they just refined it that much more. They will always plug. Every keynote is not about the announcement. It's all about free advertisements and building hype, and it's all marketing. So yes, the camera will be the de facto going forward. Absolutely, the iPhone will be used.
Nah.
Do you disagree, Mike?
Yeah,
Let's hear why.
I think there's many different shots that they can utilize some other camera for, and that they're not constrained to the fact that they have to just use the iPhone all the time. Just like any photographer, like, need a quick shot, grab the phone, take a photo, good enough. If you got the
Need
time,
a quick event, grab the phone.
right? In which Apple has time to do these different shots, but it might just be that the iPhone might not be the right tool for that shot. So they'll use a Red camera or some other cinema camera that's able to get the shot that they want. There's no rule saying that they have to just use the iPhone, because there are billions upon billions of dollars that they are sitting on. They can buy whatever equipment that they want and use it. So I think it's a little naive to say that they are now chained to their phone just because they did a 30-minute event where there's a lot of animations, a lot of different edits that they're doing in there, but the shots were from an iPhone in many of the occasions. That, yeah, it just doesn't sit right with me, just being like, well, they did it once, so they have to do it for the rest of time. It's like, nah.
I don't know, Mike. You're not selling me. You sound hesitant. I think you think this. I think you believe it. I do.
I think you're finding something that isn't there.
Presentation more interesting. The next event will be shot on iPad.
No.
I had that very same thought, and I immediately was walking back from it, but you said it, so...
No. Shot on Mac. I used a MacBook to...
Holds the iMac up with its 1080p.
Yeah.
Shot.
Got the iMac powered everywhere.
So I guess the MacBook front-facing camera.
Speaking of Mac, then, are you still throwing the iMac off of a cliff, Drew, just because it exists and the M3 chip doesn't change it at all?
No, that was not the problem. There was nothing wrong with this performance.
Okay.
This is purely just manufacturing updates for Apple, I think. You know, at a certain point, you come up with a newer design. You don't want to keep making the old chips that aren't as good. So you just need to get rid of some old products, put the new chips in there, and call it a day. And they spiced it up a little bit with some space black colors for the MacBooks. But on the iMac in particular, they were very lazy. Randy, I know you were super serious about getting those USB-C Magic accessories, and now there's none. You can't. I guess you'll have to save your money.
Woe is you.
Woe is me. I guess we nothing's ever a perfect 10. Nothing's ever a perfect 10. And it is
this
criminal.
Wasn't even a perfect 5.
It is criminal that the iMac comes with Lightning accessories, necessities. To
the EU, yes, literally criminal. Like, it is banned. It is illegal.
I
for
am
that port.
Disgusted by this turn of events. The biggest bomb is the accessories, that the mouse and keyboard are still Lightning. I will forgive, and I will because I don't care. You know, the non-black bezels. I don't care about that, says the guy looking at his studio display with black bezels. I don't care. But this is unacceptable.
as he gestures the lightning port on the back of his keyboard.
It's even harder to digest knowing that they switched the iPhone 15 and AirPods to Type-C.
I know. Are you trying to tell me that the accessories on the iPhone are more profitable than the Mac? Well, yeah, that's what they're trying. That's true. It is.
They are more profitable, but that argument would support keeping Lightning on the iPhone for another year.
Now,
There's no argument that supports keeping Lightning on the Mac. The Lightning, it never should have been on the Mac in the first place because it was always
if they had
Type-C
Lightning
on the
on
Mac.
the iPhone for another year, it would not have been shot on iPhone.
Would it?
No.
Maybe. They could have just airdropped it, right?
No, that's not the way they hooked up the to their gimbal. They were using
Right.
heavy duty.
They had it plugged in
plugs the whole time. No, I'm so convinced now
Probably
that
just
like
for
USB-C was the last movement. Now it's just going forward. It's just camera refinements because now you have every accessory that can go alongside with iPhone and anyway, the fact that like Lightning has to be reused. It's such a
And they had to update the design and everything. Like they had to print new wallpapers for the boxes, and yet they didn't want to change that. Like,
I think that
Mike,
they
do
just
you
have
any reason?
Well, yeah, I was about to say that I think they just have a giant buildup of those keyboards. And so they're like, all right, let's just keep it on for another year because we have so many of these iMac keyboards that we need to get rid of that have the lightning port on the back. And if we switch to USB today.
I mean, AirPods Pro analogy there, Mike. That's what they did with AirPods Pro. Wireless.
Probably many other things
wired.
as well.
They took their time before they went to the wireless case design because I guarantee they had such a backup because the wireless one had the ads still for AirPower. And we knew that wasn't coming, but they were so certain back then that they just had this big old buildup. So AirPods, when they updated design from plugging into wireless, was so in a warehouse sitting for months, for like half a year or something. That was a big talking point that we used to do in 2019, I guess. That it was because of AirPower being killed off. That was our indicator. Like, some of the promos still has AirPower referenced in there. So it just sitting in a warehouse to push out before they can put out the newer ones supports that theory there, Mike.
Yeah, it looks bad to keep the lightning port on them, but in my opinion, it arguably looks worse.
Bad anyway, right?
It arguably looks worse to have that much stock built up of lightning port accessories and not be able to really sell them at all if you're switching over to
not
USB-C.
An us problem.
Well, yes, that's why they chose stay with lightning. If you don't want it, then don't buy.
That's the best argument I've heard.
Don't buy Don't buy the existing accessories that have lightning ports. Wait. Do what you did,
Touch
Randy.
ID wirelessly. That's all I wanted.
Go get one that has a USB-C plug in it, like some Logitech.
There is no USB-C plugs
for a non-Apple keyboard.
There is no Touch ID for a non-Apple keyboard.
Then that's just something you have to deal with, man. You have to wait.
I know.
It's a tough life having to wait for Touch ID.
The best argument is they probably, especially because they have so many color options, they're probably just, like you said, stockpiled and they're going through. But do you think that means if they have to abide by the EU law by the end of next year, are we going to have to wait until they refresh the iMac with M4? Or are they going to do a mid-cycle update where nothing about the iMac changes, but one day we wake up and they just happen to switch just the accessories to Type-C?
Well, we already have... Go ahead.
You won't even know when that day comes. It'll just start shipping with it, and they'll update the website. They won't do a newsroom announcement or nothing.
You'll get that one Mac Rumors headline that says, iMac customers notice Type-C starts shipping with iMac. So you're saying there won't be any attention drawn to it?
No, not even remotely. They will do the way of I think Apple
water?
TV
Wave
got more
iPod.
attention than it needed. The way of the iPod. The way of the iPod. Oh, they just killed off the last remaining lightning, gone, because someone in India will post a blurry photo of packaging and it'll show USB-C. And they'll be like, "Oh, see, international people are getting USB-C, which means it's coming." And then we'll see it on Twitter for a second, but like Apple will never acknowledge it, and people who shop at Best Buy will never notice.
Well, the argument that supports that theory is that on the website, there's almost no mention or no image of the port on the accessories. Like if you scroll through the iMac page, they don't show it anywhere. They don't talk about it. The only way you could find out, the way I found out that it was still Lightning, was I had to go to the what's in the box section or the tech specs, and then it says included cable Lightning. It at no point actually shows the physical port on the side. So basically the media is all set up to swap it out at a moment's notice. Like they're ready to swap it out. So they're probably just waiting until all the Lightning accessories are gone, and then one day we'll wake up and get that.
I think a good way it can go is like if Europe gets angry that these accessories don't have USB-C, Apple can make another line of those keyboards or start producing those accessories that have USB-C in them. And then only in America, we get stuck with, or I guess anywhere that's not the EU, we get stuck with Lightning port versions. Well, yeah, that's exactly where I'm going with it, Randy. We have iPhones in America that don't have a SIM. Outside of America, or specifically in the EU, they have a SIM. So I could easily see that going the same way with these accessories, where America is stuck with the Lightning port for however long, until like their supply of those keyboards and other accessories dwindle down to the thousands or whatever. And then they're like, okay, well, now it's time to give these poor people who have been suffering so much with the Lightning port, God rest their souls, we'll give them their savior, being Touch ID keyboard with USB-C charging port. And also, hopefully, a mouse that doesn't have a port on the bottom of it. That's the one thing I was a little bit angry about
open,
this. Yes.
Like the pencil.
Yeah, whoever came up with that design, it's hilarious. But honestly, if it means that the cord has to go through like the spaces between my fingers, that's okay to me as long as I can still use it.
At that point, it's just a wired mouse.
Yes, because you want to keep on using the mouse, Randy. That's the point, is the fact that when you're charging it, you can't use it.
I love Randy's reaction to that. It's like, why would I want to do that?
Mike, that makes it a wired mouse. Stupid.
I'm not going to move my mouse around with a wire attached to it. Like
it's like having Beats X that are wireless, even though it has a wired. No. Gross.
So here's something I want to capture your thoughts on for both of y'all, since you're both M1 Pro MacBook owners and users and all that. What do y'all think about the M3 one? Do you think that's worth upgrading to? Do you think those that have Intel or an M1 or an M2 should upgrade to it? Like, or at least would you consider upgrading to one, or at least trying one out at the bare minimum?
I'm debating, based on all the arguments I'm having on Twitter, I'm debating trying out the 8 gigabyte of RAM option, because everyone online seems to be convinced that makes the entire machine useless. That you cannot do anything with 8 gigs of RAM, and therefore that one is horrible and that's a terrible deal. It's funny how there's always one spec everyone comes down to. For the longest time it was, oh my god, I can't believe it ships with 256 gig. Now they've upped it. Now it defaults to 512. And now it's back to the... Okay, well, the RAM then. The RAM's terrible. It's like, I feel like people are overhyping how important memory is. Like, it doesn't... necessarily make things go faster. It primarily helps with multitasking. And the amount of multitasking you can do on a 14-inch display is going to be somewhat limited anyway. So I would kind of like to check out the new base model, $1,600, no options, not even space black. It's too poor for space black. I just get the cheapest M3 variant and see how that performs against my M1 Max. I think that would be the most interesting comparison. All the other MacBooks are just faster in some ways, and there's going to be a million channels comparing all those. I've heard, though, there's actually some debates, arguments going on with the M3 Pro, because unlike Randy's MacBook, which is M1 Pro, and that has like, I forget what it is, but it's something like 8 or 10 high performance cores and 2 efficiency cores or 4 efficiency cores. And the new M3 Pro is like 6 performance cores and 6 efficiency cores. So that is making a lot of people seem to be convinced that the M3 Pro is actually not faster than the M2 Pro. I don't know if I believe that, because I remember specifically them talking about, dynamic caching, and it's a 3-nanometer architecture, so the cores are not equal anymore, in my opinion. But also, I think it probably will come down to what you're doing. I think there might be certain circumstances where it doesn't make a big difference, and other circumstances where it probably makes a big difference. It just comes down to what you use your computer for. Now that they have dedicated hardware accelerated ray tracing for someone doing 3D modeling or gaming, I'm glad this was not a gaming focused event, by the way. That was kind of refreshing. But if you're interested in that kind of thing, I bet M3 will make a bigger difference. So it just kind of comes down to the person. For like a permanent upgrade for me, no, like my M1 Max is still crazy fast. I got so many comments after I did my recap video of people saying, that was some scary fast editing. Like, oh my God, I can't believe you posted that video so fast. And I'm like, I did that with a 2-year-old MacBook. So I could have maybe saved 30 seconds to a minute if I spent another $5,000 on a space black MacBook.
No way it's been 2 years. Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part. Yeah.
2021.
I know.
That's
it
amazing.
feels weird, right? It does not feel like a 2-year-old MacBook, I must say. The battery life is still astounding. The display is great. The microphones I'm using right now, I'm recording this podcast on it. It's still an amazing machine, and if you're on a budget and you're willing to go refurbished and used, I'm still going to recommend M1 family over M2. There's nothing inherently I've seen from the M2 family of chips that has convinced me, oh yeah, well, everyone's comparing. They're like, Drew, why are you saying $1,600 when you can get a M2 Pro for $1,600? I'm like, well, if you're going that route, keep going. Go M1 Pro. Probably get it even cheaper. But I understand that Apple can't just stop releasing new products and say, well, sorry, I guess everyone should buy used now. Like Apple has to come out with something new. I can accept that. And they're trying to simplify the lineup. In my opinion, they have. They finally killed the touch bar. They have a cheaper version of the 14-inch. It's missing a port and its specs aren't great, but it is still, in my opinion, even with the 8 gigs of RAM, it's still an amazing value just for the display alone. $1,600 for mini LED, 120 hertz, and on top of that, it's a 14-inch with the same battery life as the 16-inch, which before wasn't possible. If you went with the 14-inch before, you had to get worse battery. Now you can get like the best battery life in a MacBook on the entry-level model. And it's a laptop. A lot of people might care about battery life, That's kind of a factor. Maybe not everybody's going to care about RAM. Seems like a lot of people will, but I don't think those people are buying it. I think
no,
a
you
lot of
gotta
people
complain
who just
just to
are
complain. It's just complaining.
It's like they're complaining that a product exists that is not intended for them. It's like, if you care about having more RAM, you're right. That's a bad choice. Don't buy that one. But I take issue with the mindset of people saying that no one could possibly get anything done with that amount of RAM. Like, no, that is unusable. Like, there's no way you could work on that one. And I was like, somebody might not necessarily be doing a bunch of work. They might just want a really nice screen and a really great battery life. You know, you spend a little bit more money than an Air, and you get way brighter screen, way higher refresh rate. You gain the SD card slot and HDMI port, kind of important for a lot of people. You get way better battery life. And okay, the RAM's not great, but still, you know, especially if you're using it for media consumption or, you know, photo editing, that kind of thing with an SD card. Yeah, I'd
People
say
who
this is
need
great.
more RAM know when they need more RAM. The people are going,
Yeah.
the RAM is unusable. Like, if you are making you know when you need or you don't need it. I won't ever complain about it because I always upgrade the RAM anyway to at least 32. I think this one's 32, if not maybe 64, because I know I needed it for Logic, specifically only for Logic.
I didn't touch my RAM, for the record.
I touched my RAM for
32.
many
Yeah,
days.
okay. I got 32 gigs of RAM. I just looked it up. So I never complained when it, you know, even when I was using the M1 Air. Never complained because I knew what I was working with and how I was trying to get by. Did it suck? Yeah, it overloaded a few times on Logic, but I knew that was going to happen. People who need the RAM know why they need the RAM. If you know you need to always upgrade your RAM, it's a non-issue. It's always going to be a non-issue for it because you've already allocated that money towards it. You're better off putting money towards RAM anyway, in that sense, than you would SSD when you have your external. Oh, I got mine floating around somewhere, but like it's more expensive.
I just argue it depends on the use case, you know? Like
Yeah,
for someone
but
like me,
people who want to make a stink about it, they're just because they want to. I
8 gigabytes of
on
RAM
paper-
has edited this podcast multiple times on this computer that I'm on right now.
There you go.
Thank
As
you,
someone
Mike.
on paper
Thank you.
who falls in that category of like, I need more RAM, I won't complain that it only comes with 8 gigs of RAM. The same way I don't complain it only comes with 256 gigs of or what, you know, I'm not going to do that. Now that it's half a terabyte, like that, it just,
yeah.
we're making non.
I mean, that still wouldn't be great for me.
Yeah.
512 gig would be a pain in the butt for me, but that doesn't mean I'm going to expect it to be the default.
You're doing this on an
every-
Air? I thought you were doing this on your studio mic.
No. This has all been on the air.
That's right. All the podcasts Mike has edited and all the
Recently.
recording from the
Ever
past
since
5
I've been,
months.
yeah, probably in the last 5 months, have been on this. The studio has been packed.
Have you ever
away
had
for
a
other
memory
reasons.
overloaded pop up?
No. It's only been physical storage. Like the actual, like how much storage I have.
Oh, yeah.
For
Real storage.
Yeah, the SSD. That's always been an issue because I've got the lowest, I think 256 or whatever, and it tops out all the time because Final Cut's like, let me use everything. I'm like, no, delete temporary files, and then it fills up again. So I think that's only been the only struggle with this thing. Otherwise, there's never been a memory overload for editing or anything else. It's been
Nice.
pretty easy. So I've got no doubt that the
Thank you.
8 gigabyte version of the 14-inch MacBook Pro is perfectly fine. It can do anything that it needs to. And some would probably argue, yeah, but that's 8 gigabytes on an M1. This is an M3. M3's got,
Isn't that better?
It's got dynamic
but then make it
caching
more
or whatever.
efficient?
So like the dynamic caching's able to like allocate what cores are used when, or like how efficient
Right.
and or optimal it can be with optimal. Basically, yeah. How well it can
as
edit
amazing-
and allocate its resources.
Yeah. As amazing as the Air is, it is technically, like, Mike has the worst M series chip. Like,
Thanks.
this is... No, that's meant to
Mike
show
is
how
the worst
capable
one
it
out
is.
of this panel. Yeah. I hear you, Drew. I hear what you're saying. I hear you. Yeah.
I mean, like, it can only be better, right? It can only go up from where he's at, and he's still able to edit the show, export stuff without a fan. This MacBook has a fan,
I have no fans.
has a 3nm architecture with the dynamic caching, accelerated, was the mesh one and the ray tracing, all the fancy marketing lingo. The metaphor I've learned from my buddy Ross, RAM is the size of your desk.
I told
Your
you this.
processor is how fast you can work. Was it you or Ross?
I said this to guy. Not Ross, Randy.
Hi, Ross. How's it
Maybe you
going?
inspired Ross.
I have said that forever.
calling me earlier.
RAM is the size of your table. I said storage is how much you could put on that table. Boom, boom.
Is this 4D table or 3D
So does-
table?
I don't know.
So you're saying that having a bigger desk makes you more productive, right?
Not having a bigger desk just means if you need that to be able to hold multiple things at once, and it doesn't. Nice. Mike is putting gifts in the chat here, but Ross, I can't believe you just stole my credit. Shame, shame.
It may not be that original of a claim. It's
No, but I said
possible
that
more than
years
one
ago.
person has thought of this. Yeah, so did Ross.
Back when M1 was a thing.
We're old now. Everything was years ago. Nothing happened this
My
year.
MacBook
Except they
Pro is years old. Years old.
It feels so weird to say that because I still open this thing up and I'm using it and I feel like I have this
I guess
state of the art,
Lightning
That's a good.
fast.
super advanced.
Maybe this is a good check-in point then. Are you still babying it the same amount that you were on day one? Or have you become a little bit more lenient with it?
No, I don't know what you mean by babying. I mean, I still use al dente. Like I still cap the battery at 80%. But other than that,
I thought you were talking about
Well,
pasta.
I guess
throw this thing around.
what I was thinking is like, when I first saw it, like you were keeping it in your backpack. It was all cushioned up in there and all that. I'm like, I'd like to see. And you're like, okay, let me go get it. And you carefully walked up to the backpack like it was going to explode. You slowly unzipped it so that way it wasn't going to scratch the side of it. You carefully lifted it out, make sure that the zippers did not touch the front or back.
I scratched
of
it
it.
so hard this morning. I was using it in bed, and I was watching, and then afterwards I closed it up and put it to the side, and it went on the table, my nightstand, and it went like on top of I forget what it was, probably a Type-C cable, and it was like sitting on top of the cable on its side, and I was like, uh-oh, that's not good, so I pushed it, and it was like,
Ugh.
and it fell onto its feet. It's in total like work truck mode now.
Well,
I don't
Not
really,
me. My thing's
I too have
my
abused
thing's a
mine as
pillow
well,
princess.
Drew, somehow.
It is just sitting there getting pampered.
wow.
Well, you have kids and I don't. Maybe that's the difference.
I'm
Well,
never in my office, and
I
you
guess.
work every day.
everywhere.
You know how to literally baby something.
Well, sometimes he's unlike the child. The MacBook doesn't run up to things and purposely try to just.
Or shake it violently.
You need to MacBook proof this house.
I just think of a
seen it.
Roomba with a MacBook on top of it, just bumping it
He's
every
looked at my Mac. I realized really quickly I can't work outside of the office because he'll look at it and then he'll just go. For the sake of the story, my iPad Pro is now my MacBook Pro. Don't ask me why I have an iPad Pro, audience, but he'll see it, and
Wait,
then
what?
the first thing he does, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, draw your attention to me now. He'll look at it and he'll go, and then he just puts the in his teeth because he's got teeth now.
Just bites the whole thing. That's
Yeah.
great. Good
Ooh,
job.
what do you got? That looks. You have Dad's attention. I'm gonna eat it. That's his thought process.
So yeah, I guess my long way of answering Mike's question is there's nothing that I saw at the event that made me remotely interested in replacing my MacBook or upgrading it. The closest thing would have been if they did an M3 MacBook Pro with a touch bar,
You fool.
and they didn't even
You
do
fool.
that. So
Just let it die. Let it die.
it's dead now. I've accepted it. It's not coming back, especially now that they killed off that. It took several years. It lived way longer than we thought, like Jimmy Carter, but it's gone. You know.
Wait, is he still alive?
Yes.
Oh, bless that man. So, look at him. He's going for the full buck. Good for him. Good for him. I can't believe
Good
he's still
for him.
alive.
Outlived the. He was alive when the Touch Bar was announced. Can you believe
So
that?
were many
He's
people.
going to be around for another election.
Anyways, I
He
also
must be
wanted to
depressed.
add that I have two
He's gonna
accidentally
outlive
abused.
Biden.
He's unstoppable. I can't stop. him.
Here's the
It's
deal,
impossible
folks.
to stop Randy. He just keeps going.
Jimmy Carter's going to speak at Biden's funeral. Oh,
All right.
God.
Take it away, Mike. Take away this subject.
I tried, but he took it back.
Gone so
And I'm just
soon.
like-
What do you? How about I'll ask you the question? Do you think I should review the entry model MacBook Pro, or do you think it's not a worthy argument to have?
I think it'd be a fun exercise. Why not? At least you can say that you've tried out M3 and you've tried it. You're basically doing what you did with, I think, the M1. You got the worst M1, or not the worst, but like the most limited M1 and tried it out. And we're like, yeah, it still does everything. And so you can do the same with M3.
Do you
and be
think
like,
the M3 will export videos faster than my M1 Max?
That's going to be a fun race. I think that's probably my big question mark for it, and which is why I'm interested in you reviewing it, is the fact that
He
like
gave a non-answer.
that's
I'd be curious.
You said that is a great question, and I'll be interested to see how that goes. Mike, I didn't know you were running
run
for
it.
is
office.
that not allowed? You had to mention Jimmy Carter, Drew, and now look what you did.
I know I shouldn't have done that. Now we can't. Put
I'm gonna
him
have Jimmy Carter
back in
speak
the
at my funeral.
bottle.
God, I don't know, fucking Sheev Palpatine over here, just carry it on.
I've died before.
He built my house.
I guess what I was trying to say also is that I too have scratched my MacBook Air as well. On the screen, there's no dead pixels, but there is a noticeable scratch in which I'll try to take a picture and put it in right this point, whoever's editing the podcast this week. But now you just have me thinking,
Mystery
Randy.
behind the production, Mike. We just, Well,
Well, now you're making me think we could actually probably do a Jimmy Carter compilation for the Talos of Tech podcast.
that would be an amazing, short video that will get a lot of views, and then there you go. There you go. Jimmy Carter can probably host one. Wait, how's his voice go? Well, probably now. There'll be no new taxes. Okay. All right.
How about that space black? What do you
I
think?
think it's a good color. I think it's great. I think
Would you choose space black?
No.
Why don't we ask Mike this question? You're the one probably in the most need of an upgrade. Would you consider selling your Studio and Air for an M3 Pro?
That's a good question. I don't think so, honestly, because I'm losing money at the end then, because I've got damaged goods here with the Air, and then I've stopped, and I've also got the Studio, which is kind of like my dream Mac, being this nice square. But I like desktops, but I have found in this period of my life right now, I'm mainly using a laptop. So short-term me would say yes. It would be nice to trade those two things in, get a M3 MacBook Pro in space black, and be like, yeah, that's great. This is cool. I like it. But same part of me is like, in the long term, I still want a desktop at home and then to have a laptop just in case we travel, because I'm not going to be traveling all the time. And so it'd be nice to have a desktop that, yes, is, as I've proven, a little bit too overpowered to own when the max capability I use it for is editing a podcast, in which the MacBook Air with the M1 chip is enough. with 8 gigabytes of RAM. But I think it's more of just form over, I think form and function, but mainly the form is what allures me to the Studio. And I'll probably keep that most likely for the rest of my life, hopefully. And hopefully I don't die sooner than Jimmy Carter. But
Jimmy Carter was born in 1924.
Oh God, more Carter facts.
We're all gonna die before him.
What's his favorite color, Randy?
I'm asking Chat GPT right now. I'll let you know.
Wow, we haven't talked about
You know,
ChatGPT
I was thinking about that with the RAM and everything. I think people's big issue with this MacBook may not be the RAM or the price. It's really a branding problem. If I know this doesn't make sense marketing wise, but I think if you look at that Mac less so as a Pro and more as it's a MacBook Air XDR, you know, think of it as, you know, entry-level specs, but with really nice screen, better battery life, and a few extra ports. Honestly, it's still kind of that mid-tier regular MacBook that everybody kept asking for. We need a MacBook in between the Air and the Pro. It's a little bit better than the Air, but not as good as a Pro. This is basically that. It's still kind of that tier. It's just, I see a market for it. A lot more than I did for the 13-inch Pro, which was basically like, you buy that if you want a touch bar. And then if you don't need a touch bar, get an Air. If you want better specs, get a Pro. Now I'm like, okay, if you want just a really nice screen and better battery life and a few extra ports, you have that. But if you need the extra performance, then opt for a higher-end space black. But I think I would still go silver, honestly. I really I still regret. Honestly, I feel better now because space black makes my MacBook look silver, which is the color I wanted in the first place. It took
You're
2
so
years, but I
vain.
finally got it.
He probably.
I
thinks
got
this
one more.
I
got one more.
MacBook's about him.
The very first time ever in the Everest we ever landed on the moon, Jimmy Carter was 45 years old. Just think about that for a second. 45. He's an old man when we landed on the moon in 1969.
45's an old man.
Well,
Randy.
back then. Now it's
Randy's. Well, to be fair, we call Randy an old man.
people were dying, you know, in the
Back then, that
60s,
was old.
right, in their 60s back then. I thought he only had a good 15 years left. And he said, nah. He said, and what did it cost you? Everything. All right, I'm done. I'm done.
Drew, do you think we'll ever get a new Magic Mouse in the next 5 years?
Stop trying to change the
I
subject.
think legally we have to.
Legally?
I think they're contractually required to release a USB-C Magic Mouse, at least in the EU.
No, Apple will do the way of
I know.
Taylor Swift and do, you know, Apple's version, and then they'll have, you know, their own Magic Mouse that looks like the other one, but it's the new and improved, and that has to do with MagSafe or something obnoxious.
That wouldn't excuse it from the law, though. That's not how the law was worded.
I am the law.
I am the one
say
who
just-
laws.
That's right.
If not for your country,
Is that a
then
good quote?
for your people, you know, like, think of how many people, stupid people, who are going to buy the 24-inch iMac for one. That's strike one. But strike two, they're going to have that iMac. They're going to plug it. Ooh, it's a color-matched cable. Ooh, it's the everyday consumer Mac. Oh, it's so friendly. It's for the kitchen. And you plug it in, and then you have this lightning cable. And then they go, ooh, I want to charge my barely blue iPhone 15. Oh, wait. You're telling me my new iPhone with my new iMac and the cables don't match up? Or my iPad 10 or my iPad mini? Because the brand new iMac, which came out after the iPhone 15, ships with this lightning cable. And why? So that it can charge older devices that we don't have. I wish EU didn't have to make a law. In my perfect world, Apple would have switched to Type-C anyway on everything. And now I just feel like they're dragging their feet, likely for, like you said, supply chain efficiency.
Hey, that
Probably
makes
got
the
a
most
bunch of them
sense,
in
really.
warehouses.
Yeah.
It's the most Tim Cook answer I could think of. They're like, well, we don't
Steve
want to
Jobs
reduce
would have
e-waste.
never.
So we're going to ship our e-waste around the world so that it's not sitting in our warehouses.
Take
So I guess
that,
then
motherfucker.
here,
Pushing the e-waste responsibility on you.
let me push this on you to just make you even more confused. Why does the USB-C Apple Pencil exist then when they could have just waited for the Gen 1 Apple Pencil to run out of stock and then replace the lightning plug on the end of it with a USB-C plug?
I'll answer your question
Another great question.
because money. That's it.
They could sell a bunch of adapters for a year.
I suppose, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if they're really not in a rush to switch to Type-C, then yeah, you're right. Why would they release a Type-C pencil? That doesn't make sense either. So
Because it's Mike's first thing. It's the most obvious one. You know, I feel like when I have the Apple Pencil, I feel like I'm doing the Disney. Wow! And it looks completely botched. And it's just, if you were to really, it doesn't look like, it's just like zigzaggy.
yeah.
Holy. But it's that.
Yeah,
it's
I know what
because
you
we're
mean.
going to get USB-C accessories once they click. This is one of those things you don't want to be the first to market to buy the new iMac. Just wait. If you need an iMac M3, just wait.
Don't wait. Change your mind. This is a bad product.
Don't listen to Drew, all right? It's okay, guys. It's fine. I hear you. I see you. The silent few. You are seen and heard.
Thank you, Randy.
Unlike
about
Jimmy
this?
Carter, who can't see or
Why-
hear anymore.
Why should someone
You're so
buy
close.
an M3 iMac over a likely far cheaper M1?
Oh, because years of support.
Mr. Cost.
Don't you? This is tech. We're not talking about EV. Mr.
Oh, cost is out the window if we're talking about
This is
Apple
consumer tech. I know who the audience is here. At least 45% of our listeners minimum have the new iPhone 15, and then the other, everybody else
Most
is
of our listeners were born 5 years ago.
most of our listeners don't even know who Jimmy Carter is. This is
I
a
don't think
joke
you
I'm
can even
making.
buy
more
an
than it's true.
M1 iMac.
Well, you buy
Refurbished.
the M1 when you want to feel bad about yourself. You buy the M1 Pro when you want to feel good about yourself. You buy the M1 Max.
That's not an option.
Then that's why you get the M3
For the
iMac.
iMac,
There you
it's
go.
not.
That's why somebody would buy the M3 iMac.
To feel good about themselves knowing they got ripped off with the lightning cable.
Those people don't care. That's the same people who don't care about USB-C or ProMotion or always on display, or those people do not care. Somebody who's buying an iMac does not love themselves.
Thank you, Randy. I appreciate that. As someone who has bought the iMac.
I found
I
every
rest
color
my
just
case.
now. For the record, you can buy an M1 24-inch iMac certified refurbished from Apple for $200 less. No, $250 less than the M3. You think the ray tracing is worth an extra $250?
I think,
I think that
the M3, or at least if you want, okay, people that are buying the M3 iMac probably want more storage that isn't available in certified refurbished.
Why?
Because you can't configure certified refurbished with more storage. I'm pretty sure.
Why not?
Last I checked, I don't think you
You
can.
can.
No, you can't.
I'm doing it right now.
What are you talking?
There, I just selected 1 terabyte, $1,500.
With M1?
512.
How are you doing that?
Yeah.
How are you doing that?
You got on the little filter thing on the side. It's a finish memory capacity.
Yeah, but
You
what
go
if
to
they don't?
capacity and you select-
What if they don't have that specific configuration that you want?
Which one do you want?
I don't know. A 3 terabyte. I'm not too sure. Or a 1.5 terabyte.
That never existed.
1.5 terabyte.
That's not a thing on any Mac. That's not a thing on the.
Then why am I
Jimmy
seeing
Carter is
uncertified?
older than the Air Force.
God. I'm
He's
being
older
attacked
than the
on
ranch
troop
that
runs.
my wife is currently serving in. Just putting that out there. And he's still alive. Ain't nobody seeing the glitch in the Matrix here? It's a Matrix attack. Or wait, I told you, it's a Matrix attack. I can't do the Andrew Tate voice, but it's a Matrix attack.
Oh, don't. You don't need to.
Okay. Look at those colors. I don't even see
I know they're gross, right?
Drew, you need to find some darn self-respect right freaking now. 'Cause I'm
I
telling
have
you.
a lot of respect for myself.
You have
My
a white
respect
interior
comes from the
car.
fact-
You hypocrite.
Yeah, because it doesn't turn black when it's off. It stays white all the time.
And so
These things
does the
turn black the
iMac.
second they. No, it's
The
black when you
wallpaper,
turn
the
it off.
dynamic wallpaper.
And then you got this black line going between the bezel and the screen the entire time. People want to say I changed my mind. Give me a break. Drew, it's not the same as it used to. I've been very consistent on this one thing.
Shut up. He's making EV references right now.
No, I thought that was more of a tech thing. Like, I used to be a more die-hard ProMotion guy. Now I've kind of accepted 60 hertz. There's been some changes.
One day you'll accept white bezels then. I think so.
But was this a pretty terrible event then? Aside from the fact that we spent the first 20 minutes talking about how it was filmed says something, I think.
I think
Like, that was
it
more
was
interesting.
the event that Apple wanted it to be, and that's great.
I wish there were more costumes.
What?
I wish there was
does
more
that even
things.
mean? It was the event
That-
that Apple wanted it to be. Hey, wait a minute.
Why was it in the evening?
Because Halloween. It still had a spooky connotation to it.
It was the day before Halloween, right?
Still spooky season. They literally said
think
scary fast.
I saw a theory which made a lot of sense to me. They had it when they knew everyone in Europe would be asleep because the lightning cables are illegal there. So they made sure the European Union would not be watching by having it later in the day to screw with Europe because Apple hates Europe now.
I don't think... Fun theory, I don't think that has any merit.
Fun theory with fun merit.
Whoa. Sorry about that.
Randy's showcasing his scary fast
If you notice something,
telephoto.
this is what my office looks like without the effect. Ew.
Randy's having too much fun with himself and Jimmy Carter
No,
right now.
I'm troubleshooting in live time, trying to fix my issue here. But I guess this is it. This is how we're doing it. All right.
Don't worry.
I
No one's
think
watching.
they did it because they wanted to still get into spooky season, but they didn't want to go all in with costumes and all that. It doesn't mean because they didn't go on with costumes. That means that it definitely wasn't because Halloween was the next day or in the same month, and that they were trying to avoid some criticism from the EU, in which the EU, newsflash Drew, they wake up the next day and see the headlines. They're not completely oblivious to it. It's not like a one-time thing where you do the live event and then they kill anything that was related to it. So that way you don't know what happened unless
But
you
they're
watched it.
distracted. All
With
the news
what?
is going to be about.
They're distracted
the
with
8
everything
gigs of
else.
RAM.
The whole
Everyone's
freaking
distracted
nation's
with 8
distracted
gigs.
with being... They got so many different things to be worried about right now. I don't think
The
they'll.
goddamn unified memory account. The governor.
Governor.
H.
What? I
It's a
rest my
conspiracy,
case.
man.
I rest my. Yes, I think your theory is a conspiracy theory. I think it's quite literally, and I'm gonna keep on using this word. I'm gonna just keep on abusing it. With
It's a goddamn no.
it was just an
I
event
will see you at the gates, fighting.
themed around Halloween, but not unequivocally Halloween because they don't have to go all in. And Apple's never really gone all in on everything. They've always kept maybe a couple toes in the water and the rest of the foot's outside of it. And they're just doing their own thing. And they're going to put as much effort as they're going to into it and still be happy with it at the end of the day. And they can always spin the story later if they want. Also, white bezels are cool.
Well, we better wrap this up.
You can't unmod me here.
Mike,
You jerk.
you're fired.
Oh. So just like Randy was.
You like white bezels too, don't lie.
So now this is true.
Name one white bezel product that I have.
What's the
I'll wait.
5S color on your wall?
It's black.
I think the 5S has, yeah, it's the 4 that has white.
I love that you had to check. You were like,
I had to make sure.
you're like, wait a minute.
I'm sure there's some
make
picture
sure.
frames in his house that have white bezels.
Make sure there. Well, I'm very disappointed for the most part. Except with that entry-level MacBook Pro, that's pretty cool. The higher-end ones are great for the people with more money than sense. Like, if you really need to get something done really, really fast, and like
Scary fast.
you gotta export everything. You need every ounce of performance. Then you don't need our recommendations. You're gonna buy what you want, and the M3 Max. I hope you're happy with it because apparently on Geekbench it's faster than the M2 Ultra. So congrats.
Whatever. The thing about the upgrades now, much like the iPhone, much like iPad, if that's still a thing, is these are all incremental updates now. There's no big update coming. So you upgrade to the M3 if you're coming from an Intel still. You don't upgrade to the M3 because your chip is 2 generations old and it's still an M3. That's not what you do it for. You upgrade because
I don't think it's worth upgrading from the M1.
No. Don't upgrade. I would even say that, look, if you were the guy that bought a MacBook Pro with an Intel chip and you had 2 terabytes and you're not even halfway done with your terabyte, one, maybe like even then it's like you have to upgrade off of. Wait, let's just do the same, Drew. You upgrade based off of how bad the thing of the.
How bad your upgrade based on how bad your current product is, not how good the new one is.
There you
Say
go.
the line, Bart.
Yeah, I think I'm under contract until M5.
Wow.
I wonder what
they're making
M5
that
will have.
far in advance.
They're probably working on something like that right now. Oh, okay. I was thinking about.
I don't know if
They probably could be.
will we still be on 3 nanometer at that point? Maybe
2.5 nanometer. They're going down to
2
decimals.
nanometer.
I don't know.
Maybe if there's an iMac Pro by then.
Was that
Are we
also
ever
your
gonna
biggest
get an
upset
iMac
then?
Pro?
That there wasn't an iMac Pro with black bezels? Or
My
even just
hopes
iMac
weren't
Pro?
high.
Okay.
But
My hopes were high for a new speaker and a new Magic Mouse. And they didn't do either, which was a bummer. But
Randy wanted the 12-inch MacBook. We didn't get that.
Yeah. My hopes were high for a Mac Mini.
Oh yeah, we didn't get that either.
I would have loved to have seen an M3 Mac Mini, but
in
honestly,
space
Mac
black.
Studio all the way. I know. Oh, that would have been so cool.
Mac Mini
Hopefully
Pro.
that's a new
Wait,
trend.
that's a studio.
Space black, all the things, please. That would be nice.
They wouldn't heat up in the sun.
Shut up.
Get out.
Get out.
Drew just doesn't like space gray.
I appreciate space black. I wouldn't choose it, but I think there should be more contrast between the color
I
options.
care, Drew. Shut up. Get out.
Get me a violin. All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
They killed Apple Music voice plan only for $5 today.
Oh no, poor
I was
Nick.
wondering if you were going to bring that up.
Doesn't he use that?
Well, I have no idea. All
Could've
I know
sworn-
is that
No,
when
he
I heard the announcement today as of recording, I totally forgot that plan existed. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I think Apple did too. I think they were like, "Oh yeah, was that a thing? Who's
Is that
paying
even
for that? No one?
lossless?
Okay,
That's not even lossless. You get none of the perks with it.
it could be technically because it's music. You just have to activate it through Siri. So why wouldn't it be lossless? Is that on the chart? Well, I guess it's gone now. We won't know. Doesn't matter. It's gone.
Yeah. Darn.
Jimmy Carter outlived it. Congratulations.
If there's one constant in the universe, it's Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter's God.
Amen. Probably.
Could be.
Feeling more likely.
Did I say I was going to talk about the
Becomes a
sphere this
religion.
podcast? I'll talk about the sphere in the next podcast. I'll just keep on delaying the sphere.
Listen, the week
I
that
wanna
he
know
passes
more about
away,
the
I'm
sphere.
not going to be able to make the recording that week. I need a mourn. Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough. Have a good night, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I love how we ended this one.